Welcome back, architecture students. In this video, we're going to learn how to manage our files, and we're going to learn how to put some walls together. Okay, learn about wall systems. All right. So first thing is how to manage your files. So you're going to save this file. This is the file you're going to be working with. Okay, we're going to name our file. It's one of the first things I want students to do when they start a new project is to name the file, because they will forget later on and they will send me a file just called, I don't know, file or something, but I won't know what it is. Okay, and especially if I file it with all my other plans from all the other students, then it's going to really look out of place, and it's going to be hard for me to decipher who it belongs to and what it is. Okay, so what we do as soon as we start a project is we hit the save button right up here in the quick access toolbar. So right there, quick access toolbar, save button. And it should in a second here bring up a save file dialog box, which again, my computer's running a little bit slow. It's a not quite worthy of the task. All right, you see it says project 3 down here right now. And also you see up here that it's saving it in the English Imperial folder, which I don't like that, because if you do that, then anyone who comes and uses your computer later, even though they may sign in under a different name, they have access to your work. Okay, we don't want that, so we're going to change this to documents. Okay, so we just click over here in the drop down bar, supposedly, and if you don't see documents right up at the beginning here, then find your name right here and click on that. Okay, it's going to take you to all of your specific folders and files. Click on documents. And if you want to make a folder somewhere that has, you know, your stuff in it, and I might do that for this one, or will I? Let's see what I got in here. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder for this one. It's good to have a project folder that has your project name on it, so you'll know where stuff is. And later on, you'll be actually downloading other stuff to put in that folder. So let's go ahead and make a new folder right here, where this little plus mark, little green plus mark in the bottom right-hand corner, right there. Click on that. And that creates a new folder for us, and it gives us the ability to rename that. So the project name, go ahead and name the folder according to the project name. And this one's just going to be called Full Design in Revit. Yeah, Full Design in Revit. That's what it was. Okay, Full Design in Revit. Okay. And I got an extra space way over here. So I'll put all the videos in that file, and I'm going to open that folder. I think. Try it again. Okay, so now I'm in the folder. I want to name the project also. Let's say I'm naming it Full Design in Revit, and I'm going to underscore and put my name. All right, there. So you would do yours the same way. You would name it, and that way all of my students' projects will wind up in the same place alphabetically as Full Design in Revit underscore your first name. Okay, so that makes it real easy for me to find your work. And it just makes things easier. I'll just say that. Okay, so remember to always do that. Okay, so now I'm going to hit the save button. Okay, so that saves this file, this building file or design file, in my documents folder. Okay, now I want to set up some walls. And too, when it comes to saving, Revit will remind you to save probably every so often, and if you see that pop up on the screen, it says you haven't saved your file lately, would you like to save it now? Always say yes. Okay, and if you can think about it, anytime between that, go in and click the save button so you can save the current version of your file. okay? Because you don't want the computer to conk out on you, the electricity go out or whatever, and then you lose all of your work. That's not good. So make sure that you're saving it, okay? And later on, I'm going to show you how to back it up to OneDrive, okay? So if we'll just pause here for 1 second. I've got to go take care of something. Okay, I'm back. So let's talk about walls. Okay, wall systems. Every building has a wall system that consists of 3 components. One component is the structural component, and that is the material that holds the wall up and together. In residential design, we typically use lumber. Of course, we can use steel as well, but it's just more popular right now to use lumber because of availability, price, ease of being able to work with and things like that. And it really depends on what's available in what area of the country or the world that you might use different material. But let's assume that we're just somewhere here in America, in Texas somewhere, and we're going to just design a simple residential house using lumber as our structural component. Okay, so the structural component, that's I would say that is the most important. Okay, so that's the first component of a wall system, is structural, and we're going to be using lumber. The second component, which is the next important component, is your weatherization. Okay, weatherization consists of an insulation that goes in the walls between the wall studs, and we'll talk about that. Actually, it would be nice if I pulled up a picture of this. Okay, let's see. Get my slow computer to work here. Okay, so let me drag it over here to this side. I'm using double monitors here. Okay, so wall framing. This is your frame, the frame of your walls. Okay, it's just lumber. It's exactly what we're going to be putting together right here. Shows a few corner slots or shots, headers, things like that are going to be involved. And we'll talk more about that also later in another lesson. But this is the frame, okay? This is the frame, the structure component of that wall. Okay, now I'm going to talk about see if it'll come up under wall weatherization. Okay, so you have, well, this shows different types of, I guess, some batting and some wrap, things like that. Let me find wall with insulation. And why did that not type? Okay, so you see different ways of insulating a wall with different types of batting or rigid sheets here and there. Here's a guy putting that insulation inside the wall. Okay, and here's looks like balloon insulation there. Okay, and of course some people use might be rock wool right there. Actually, it is rock wool. Okay, so that's the insulation. They also put on a wrap. Okay, wrap goes on the exterior. Okay, it is what we call a vapor wrap, and it prevents vapor or moisture from moving into the house. It keeps the moisture outside and prevents it from moving inside. You know what the insulation does? The insulation keeps the heat from transferring from either inside or outside. So during the summer you have a cool interior, and during the winter you have a warm interior. And this insulation acts like a cooler, like a cooler that you put your sodas in. And it keeps, the air that's inside of it, it keeps that air inside from leaking to the outside. Okay. And scientifically, only heat actually transfers. So if it's hot outside and cool inside, then this is keeping the warm air to the outside and keeping the cool air inside. And vice versa, in the winter, it'll keep the warm air inside and the cooler air outside. Okay, so that is the weatherization components, the insulation and your wrap. The wrap goes all the way around the structure. Let's see if I can find a good picture of one. Let's say probably ought to search for house wrap. Okay, so these houses have wrap around. That's their vapor barrier. Okay. All right, it's applied to the outside of the sheathing, which is a piece I haven't talked about yet. Sheathing is actually part of the structural layer, and it's just plywood nailed onto that frame. Okay, we have the wall frame. Okay, so, well, let me say wall framing. Okay, so here's your wall framing. That sheathing is wrapped around the outside of that wall framing. It adds to the stability of the structure itself. Okay, it prevents what we call racking. Okay, as you can see, these 2x4s are standing straight up and down. If they happen to get a lateral force, they could rack. Okay, and I'll show you what racking is. Okay, you do it this way. And that's not showing me what I want to see, but is you had all those 2x4s. Let me try this one. Didn't spell that right. Okay, here we go. Perfect. You see here racking in this picture right here, and you see some, this looks like a foundation system. Okay, but you see as the wind is blowing from one direction or another, it can cause those structural elements, those vertical structural elements to rack or to bend to one side or the other. We don't want that, so we put sheathing all the way around the house. In a lot of cases, we don't have to. We can actually just put the sheathing at the corners. Okay, especially say if we're using like a brick walled house, we can put sheathing at just the corners. But most other houses will put sheathing all the way around it to help prevent this racking. Here's a very good example of racking. So this is a house. It looks like they were building, and somewhere in the process they got a good strong wind and it just toppled right over. Okay, not good stuff. Okay, so sheathing is a component that I left out of that. So again, we've got the weatherization, which is your insulation, and your wrap, your vapor barrier, your plastic, or sometimes it's made of tar paper that wraps around the house. Okay, and the sheathing, of course, is part of the structural layer. And then we got the aesthetics. Okay, that's what we're going to see on the outside or see on the inside. Okay, that can be brick, it can be wood on the outside, all those things on the outside. You see it every day. Just ride down through the neighborhood and you will see what we call an exterior finish. Okay, you'll see wood, you'll see brick or block. That's all just exterior. In most cases today, those are not structural bearing walls. Okay, or they're not structural bearing materials. The walls are, because it's the structure on the inside of the wall that does the support work. But the bricks and the blocks on the outside do not hold up the house. You also have wood, you have metal, you have vinyl, and things like that on the outside. On the inside, you most typically have drywall, okay, which is a kind of a chalky substance. It's actually called gypsum wallboard. But people call it drywall, they call it sheetrock, they call it all sorts of things. And if you were inside your house right now and you looked at the wall where you may have just hung a poster or something like that on the wall, that is gypsum wallboard. Okay, it's usually painted over to be a nice color. Without the paint, it just looks very unfinished structurally. But it is just a very chalky type material that's put on the walls to add beautification to the inside of the house. Okay, so those are the three components: your structure, or structural integrity, structure, what holds up the wall. Then you got the weatherization with your house wrap, your vapor barrier, your batting inside of the walls to keep the hot air from transferring. And then you got the aesthetic components, which is the bricks or whatever on the outside, and the drywall or gypsum wallboard on the inside. So don't forget those three components. It's very important. All walls have to have them. Okay, now I'm off of that tangent. Let's go and put some walls together. I'm going to click on the wall tool. This is the first tool we're going to use. If I click on the drop down, you'll see that I get some selection, if I can get it to work. There we go. So we got wall architectural, which is typically what you're going to be using. Then you also have wall structural, which this is going to be walls that are like load bearing, really heavy duty, vertical and lateral load bearing type walls. Typically they would be for a basement or something underground, or maybe a retaining wall or something like that. And then you got walls by face. We're not really going to mess with that. We're just going to look at the walls architectural. And usually that's the one that is by default. So if I just click on walls, then I'm going to get the walls architectural. I think. What is going on here? Okay, so because my computer is so slow, it is doing some stuff. Let's see here. I need to get out of, if I can. Okay, I think I'm out of it now, whatever it was. Okay, so we're going to click on the wall tool, and by default, it's going to give us the basic walls. This I use as a template. That's the first wall that comes up, which is the basic wall, generic 8-inch. I use that as a template, and I'll show you what I do to make the rest of my walls. Is I'm going to use this. I'm going to click on this edit type. Now right here we have what's called the type selector, so I can select different types of walls that are already put together. Unfortunately, none of these walls are what we're going to use on a residential house. Okay, but type selector here, and then edit type right here. So click on this edit type button, and you'll get a dialog that'll pop up. Looks just like this. Okay, and I'm having to drag mine from the opposite screen. Okay, give me just one moment. Okay, I'm back, and we got this wall that we're using as a template, basic wall, generic 8. I've got its type properties right here, and this is where I do my editing. First thing I do, though, is I duplicate it. I click on duplicate, and I'm going to name it according to the type of wall that I'm going to make. This is going to be an exterior wall, and it's going to have, I'm going to say metal finish, okay, a metal outside exterior finish. Okay, so I'm going to call this metal 2x4, and that should be fine for me. Okay, I'm just naming it something that's going to help me remember what it is. So it's a metal wall finish. The finish is metal, so it's going to have metal panels on the outside of it, but it's a 2x4 structural wall, and this is what helps me remember that. Okay, so metal. And you don't really have to spell it exactly right when you're working on your own. I usually hit typos and stuff and just leave it like it is. But anyway, metal 2x4 wall. Oh yeah, I want to put exterior, EXT. Okay. Okay, now I've got my new wall here that I'm going to be working with. I'm going to click on the edit button, and I'm going to edit the layers of this wall. Okay, and I'm going to do that by clicking the insert button right here. Right now I've got just a structural layer. Okay, that's all I have on here. I need about 4 more layers. 1, 2, 3, 4. I might need more. All right, so now I've got 5 total layers because I already had 1 layer. Or I might even have more. I might have hit that button more times than I thought. Okay, but anyway, what I'm going to do with this, my core boundary here is very important. So I'm going to highlight my core boundary line, I'm going to go to the down button. Okay, now you see here, this is the exterior side of the wall that I'm working with when I'm working up here. Okay, here's the interior side when I'm working down at the bottom. Okay, core boundary is what divides all of those different components of our wall. So my exterior layer is only going to have two components. That's going to be my metal, and that's the metal siding, and then it's going to have my vapor barrier. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to the down button, and I'm going to move line 1, which says core boundary, layers above, move it down twice. Okay, so now I've got two components or two materials above that core boundary. Okay, and then on the inside of the core boundary, I'm going to have two structural materials. I'm going to have my 2x4 studs, and I'm going to have my sheathing. Okay, so it's going to be two layers for the inside, and I really only just want one layer on the inside, on the interior side, and that's going to be my gypsum wallboard. So I'm going to take 9, line number 9, I'm going to go to up. I'm going to move it up to where I have two components or two materials on the inside of the wall, inside the core boundary. This is the exterior, and I did hit that button too many times. I'm going to delete line 9. Okay, let's try to, okay, let me delete line 8. It doesn't want to let me delete line 9. And I'm going to delete line 7. So there's just one layer of material on the interior side of the house. Okay, so starting up here on the exterior side of the house, I'm going to change some of the functions of those materials. So line number 1, which is going to be my metal siding, is going to be, a finish. Okay, and then line number 2 is going to be my vapor barrier, or what we call here, we'll call it a membrane layer. Okay, line number 4 is a structural layer, and that's what we're going to use with our sheathing. And then line 5 is going to be our framing, our lumber framing. Line 7 is also going to be a finish. Okay, right there. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to the material column. I'm going to change some of the materials. For line number 1, it says finish 1, which I told you it's going to be metal siding. So I'm going to click on by category, and it's should open up a library for me. There it is. And I can look for, kind of any metal surface if there is any. I can use any of these analytical surfaces I want to, and then edit the stuff that's in here. But I'm going to try to find one that's already metal. Okay, let's scroll on down here. That's a metal stud, metal furring, metal deck. Okay, they probably don't have anything necessarily just straight up and down metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a material. Okay, so pay very close attention. I'm going to go to this little ball right down here, and I'm going to click on the drop down. It says create new material. So I'm going to click on that, create new material. Here is my new material. I'm going to change the name of it first thing. Under the identity tab over here on the right, I'm going to come over here, select all that, and call this metal siding. Okay, and I'm going to go to the graphics tab. I'm going to change the way it looks, and I think, of course, I want the color of my house to be kind of a green. So I'm just going to pick a green, just any kind of green. It doesn't have to be anything specific here. Don't worry about the other ones, the foreground pattern, surface pattern. Here, surface pattern we probably do want. And we're going to go with a vertical surface pattern because this is going to be vertical steel siding. You do that one, the vertical small. You don't have to do that one if you don't want to. And here I'm not worried about anything else. Okay, I'm going to click apply. And then I'm going to go to the appearance tab. And here's where I'm going to access the material library, the big material library. Okay, or it's called the asset browser right here. You click on that. Let it load. Asset browser not responding. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to put in here metal. See what I come up with. All right, so we'll come up with aluminums, coppers, irons. Here it says metal, whatever that is. You can actually stretch this out a little bit. Stretch that out a little bit so you can see what they're talking about over here. Metal here, appearance. And you got different colors, okay? Different copper coatings, iron, lead, nickel, palladium, silver. Probably not anything specifically. Let's go to metallic paint. A lot of glossy stuff in here. Satin green, that looks perfect. I'm going to take that satin green and I'm going to click on these two arrows right here. These two arrows are going to put that material right over here, okay? And as you see in a minute, it's going to fill this out. And this is what it's actually going to look like. This is an appearance, what the appearance is going to look like of that metal right here. Okay, so we can close this library, apply, okay. All right, so I got my metal siding, my thickness. You know, metal siding is going to be different as far as thickness. And then, of course, you also have what we call a lath or a furring, okay, which that metal siding is attached to. Okay, that furring is about 3/4 of an inch. So here, when I'm working with any kind of metal, vinyl, or wood siding, I just go ahead and allow for 1 inch. Okay, and that should get your furring and your material all together in one. All right. And of course, being exact on the exterior measurement isn't so important as being exact on your interior measurements. So we got to really pay attention, especially when we're doing our interior measurements. Membrane layer, that's the vapor barrier. Okay, so what I just did there is I clicked on that name right in here. Click in that material column out beside membrane layer. You got a little button right here inside that box by category. It says by category right now, but it's going to say vapor barrier in just a second. So I'll let my things spin around there. Okay, now I'm going to go down to the bottom. And there should be vapor retarder. Okay, vapor retarder, same thing, vapor barrier. All right, line number 4 is going to be our sheathing. Okay, so what I'm looking for is plywood sheathing for this one. Okay, and as soon as my little circle there quits going around, you can find it, plywood sheathing right there. Okay, thickness of that plywood sheathing. Oh, and I forgot to tell you that the membrane layer, the vapor retarder, has no thickness. Okay, you don't put a thickness in there because it's so small, it just doesn't matter. Okay, plywood sheathing can be various sizes. We're going to use 5/8 inch. Okay, 5/8 inch. And then we've got the actual structure, which we're going to use lumber. So I'm going to go down here and find a material called softwood lumber. Softwood lumber right there. Okay, and its thickness, okay, we're going to use a 2x4. Okay, this is very important. You got to remember this from now on out. A 2x4 is the name of the lumber, and it indicates the size of the lumber that we're going to use in the wall. Okay, but it's really not 2 inches by 4 inches. We call it a 2x4. Okay, but it's not really 2 inches by 4 inches. Okay, it's actually 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. All lumber works this way. They're all milled a little bit smaller than what their name actually indicates. Okay, so a 2x4 in this case is going to be 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Now, based on the orientation that the lumber is inside of the wall, the thickness that I'm most concerned with is the larger one, the 3.5 inches. Okay, that's what I want to account for because of its orientation inside the wall. So I'm just going to put 3 1/2 inches. Okay. And then finally we come to the finish, interior finish, which is going to be gypsum wallboard. So I'm going to click on where it says by category here and get that library to come up. And I'm going to scroll up as soon as my little circle there quits spinning. And you can see how this performs on 8 gigs. So if you're looking for a computer to purchase to do this with, get at least a 16 gig RAM, at least i7 processor. I have both of those, or actually I have better than that at my campus, but the computers are actually getting updated right now to Windows 11, so I'm not able to use that computer. But I'm going to find the G's alphabetically here, gypsum wallboard, and I'm putting it in right there. And then I'm going to set the thickness of that to 1/2 of an inch. Okay, that's going to be our typical thickness for drywall, or gypsum wallboard, drywall, sheetrock, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I just created an exterior wall. Again, I've got my metal siding, which I'm allowing for 1 inch thickness. Vapor retarder, I'm putting no distance on that, or no thickness on that, because it doesn't matter, it's so thin. My structural portion here, got plywood sheathing at 5/8 of an inch. We're using 5/8 inch plywood, or actually OSB, which is oriented stranded board. We can talk more about that later. Okay, the other structural material is softwood lumber. That's what we're going to use our framing. That's what we're going to frame it up with. And that's going to be 3.5 inches thick. And then our finished gypsum wallboard is 1/2 inch thick. So what this does is it creates us an exterior wall that we're going to use to draw our exterior walls with, and they will be the exact dimension that we need, that we're planning on using when we actually build the wall. This is very important, especially on the inside when it comes to our permanent cabinet work, door placements and things like that. This will keep all of those very precise. Okay, so we're going to be modeling with the walls that are the actual size we need for precision purposes. Okay, so I'm going to click OK to end that and apply to make sure it sticks, and then OK. And then if I come over here, you can see I now have that wall in this little library here somewhere. There it is right there, metal 2x4 exterior. Okay, now we talked about plumbing walls, using 2x6s for our plumbing walls, and yes, we're going to do that, 2x6s for our plumbing walls. So what I want to do there is, let me get the wall tool back going here. I'm going to take this same wall, I'm going to edit type. This is the same wall that I just put together, that 2x4 exterior metal wall. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it a 2x6 exterior plumbing, PLBG. So metal 2x6 exterior plumbing wall. Click OK. Go to edit and go to the structure, the softwood lumber part. Okay, and we're just going to change that size. Okay, now a 2x6 does not measure 2 inches by 6 inches. It actually measures 1.5 inch by 5.5 inches. Okay, so the thickness that I'm worried about here is that larger thickness. If I can get this thing to work right. Come on. 5.1/2 inch. And there we go. So that's going to be a little bit wider wall, used strictly for plumbing. Click OK, apply, and OK. All right, so I got that plumbing wall, and I also have that exterior wall. Now I want an interior wall. I'm going to go to the type selector and go back to that same 8-inch generic. Click on edit type, and then click on duplicate. And this one's going to be a 2x4 interior. Okay, interior walls are basically just partitions. You know, they just divide spaces. Okay, so I'm going to click on OK. I'm going to go to edit right here, And I'm going to add 2 layers to it by clicking on this insert button twice. 1, 2. I'm going to go up to line 1, which is my core boundary, but I'm going to bump it down 1 time. So now it's line 2, core boundary, and then my finish is up here. Okay. Line number 5, which is also my other side, the interior side of my core boundary. I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to bump it up 1 time. Okay, that puts that core boundary at line number 4. And so I've got my finish up here. Let's go ahead and in the function column, let's go ahead and change that to finish. Okay, here's going to be structure. That's going to be my 2x4s. And then out here also is going to be finish. Okay. Now on the by category in the material column where it currently says by category, I'm going to click on the category and go gypsum wallboard. It's already selected from the last time I used it. Click OK. Okay, so now that is gypsum wallboard, and it's now going to be 1/2 inch. Okay, my structure, which is going to be my softwood lumber. Okay, again, changing that material column. I'm looking for softwood lumber, and I'm just waiting for my thing there to quit spinning. Softwood lumber. Okay. It should stop spinning here in a minute. Okay, so we got softwood lumber. And this one is going to be 3.5 inches. This is my regular 2x4. So 3, and then 1/2 inches. Okay, so that's going to be that thickness. Okay, lastly is a material column. Currently by category, this is the other side of the wall, which is also going to be gypsum wallboard. Let that circle finish spinning. There we go. Where did it go? There it is. Okay, and that gypsum wallboard is, again, 1/2 inch. Okay, so this is an interior wall, just a basic interior wall with a 2x4 structural component or core. Okay, overall that wall is 4.5 inches. Okay, now I'm going to hit the OK button and apply button, but I'm going to stay right here. I'm not going to hit the OK button yet. Now it's already applied, the wall's already made. Now I'm going to change it by duplicating it, clicking, or actually renaming it. It says 2x4 interior. I'm going to call this one a 2x6 interior PLBG for plumbing, because I'll have interior plumbing walls on this design. Okay, now I'm going to click OK. I think I might. Oh, did I just mess that up? Okay, so we got a 2x6 interior plumbing wall, a 2x4 interior plumbing wall, so we're all good to go. All right, and just check out some of the specifics here real quick. Okay. Oops, I didn't mean to hit that button. Okay, so there's our 2 interior walls, 2x4 and a 2x6 plumbing, and then we got our exterior walls down here. Some metal 2x4 and then metal 2x6 exterior plumbing. Okay, so that takes care of our walls. So that's the end of this video. We have made all the walls that we need, and I suggest you do that at first so they're all already there, ready to be used. And next video, we're going to talk about creating an exterior wall outline.